Okay, boys and girls, today we are going to do an activity with a book that we read yesterday, okay? So I need everyone's eyes up here. So we read yesterday a book called A Country Mouse and a Town Mouse, okay? Raise your hand if you remember this book from yesterday. Just raise your hand if you remember us reading this book. Okay, so most of you remember, good job. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do an activity because remember how we are becoming word detectives?
Yes.
Well, when we're detectives solve mysteries, right?
Yes.
So what we have to do as a word detective is when you're reading, you're going to come to words that you don't know, right?
Yes.
So you have to be a detective and you have to solve those words. And remember that we have been teaching you strategies such as looking at the pictures, also looking at the first letter of the word, okay? All parts of the word. Remember all those different strategies we've been talking about with our anchor charts? Do you all remember that?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read you some sentences from the story A Country Mouse and Town Mouse. And I have some words covered up. And I'm going to model for you the first one of what to do when you come to a word that you don't know. Okay? And the key thing that we want to do is we want to make sure it does these three things, our word. We want it to look right. That means we want it to look like the words and the letters that they match, okay? The letters and match the sound. We want it to sound right, okay? We don't want it to be a silly word, right? And we want it to also make sense, okay? So let's look at my book here, A Country Mouse and Town Mouse, retold by Ruth Madison.
Pardon interruption, Mr. Chismar.
Yes.
I put Sophia Mendoza on the bus. Her mother is here in the building.
Okay, so she is a
Thank
car
you.
rider. Thank you. Okay, so Sophia, you are a car rider, okay? Okay, thank you. Okay, so A Town Mouse and Country Mouse, retold by Ruth Madison and illustrated by Max Stasiak, okay? So here is remember, the first thing we do, we always take a sneak peek, right? Which we did that yesterday. So here is my title page, and we see the two mice, right? Okay, so let's look at our first page. Here we go. I'm going to model for you what we're going to do on the next couple of pages. A town mouse went to, oh my gosh, okay, so this word, put your hands down. Okay, now listen, I come to a problem. As a detective, I stopped. I realized I have a problem. I don't know this word. A town mouse went to blank a country mouse. Okay, so I'm looking at my photo here, my illustration, right? And I see a mouse, right?
Yes.
And I notice that looks like he's walked somewhere and he's knocking on someone's door. Well, okay, so let's look. I'm going to look at the first letter of my word. And I see that it is the letter what? V. Well, okay, V. What sound does V make? Your V. Very good. So I know it needs to start with the V sound. Okay, so it can't be knock. It can't be knock. Oh, let's look. Okay? So I'm going to look at Jakari. I've asked you not to shout out. Thank you. So let's look at the next. I see an I. And I know it's hard for me to see because I've got this covered up, but let's look right here. Can you see that I?
Yeah.
All right. I know I goes in. Let me continue looking at the rest of the word. Visit. What is that word? Visit. Okay, now let's go. I am going to make sure it looks right. Okay, is it? Okay. Oh, all right. Does it sound right? Visit. Does that sound right? Does it sound like a real word? Yeah, we know what the word visit is. And also, does it make sense? I go back and reread it. A town mouse went to visit a country mouse. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Very good. So we have just solved that word, okay? All right, let's go to the next page. All right, here we go. Remember, even if you remember the word from yesterday, we're going to keep it in our brains, okay?
Yes.
All right. Here is my house, said the country mouse. Come inside and have some food too. Oh, okay. I have identified a problem. I don't know this word. Well, first off, we're going to look at the illustrations, right? We have the two mice, and he's inviting him inside to have some food. What do we do with food, first off? What do we do with food, Jakayla? We eat food. Okay, so maybe it's the word eat. So let's look at the first letter. Okay. Oh, I do see an E. Now remember, E makes what sound? Eh. And remember, it can also say its name, which is what? E. Okay, E. I look at the rest of this word, eat, eat, eat. Very good. And you know that EA is a vowel digraph, and they're walking together. So the E is doing the talking in this one, right? The E says its name. Eat. All right, so let's double check. Does it look right? Yes. Eat. Does it sound right? Does it sound? Okay. And let's make sure it makes sense. Here is my house, said the country mouse. Come inside and have some food to eat. Does that make sense? Yes. Yes, it does. Oh, yes. Thank you, said the town mouse. All right, let's do one more, okay? Here is some blank to, oh, there's that word again. What is that word? Eat, said the country mouse. Okay, oh, I have a problem. I don't know this word. Okay, so first off, I want to look at this illustration. Look at this illustration. Who can raise their hand and tell me by looking, what do you see the mouse eating? Let's see here. Jameer. Corn. What is the first sound in corn, Isabel? Oh, not the letter, the sound. All right, so let's see. Let's see if this word is corn. All right, I'm going to uncover the first letter. Oh, I see a C. Or. Let's look. Does anybody know what two letters go or? Oh, what?
O-R.
You got it. O-R. Very good. It's a combination O-R like in horse or. So let's look. All right. Let's see. Or. What's the last sound in corn, Allison? Sound. Let's look. Orn. Was that the word?
Yes.
You just solved the word. You were a detective. Here is some corn to eat, said the country mouse. All right. It looked right. It sounded right. And it made sense. All right, guys. So, from now on, when you come to words that you don't know, you're a detective. You're solving. And you need to make sure that the word that you say looks right, matches your letters. It sounds right, because if it doesn't make, and then if it doesn't sound right, it's not going to make what?
Sense.
Very good. Okay, so we're going to be doing that when you're independent reading as well as when you are